So, Final Shape releases pretty soon. Next week, actually. 3 days left. Two if you count downtime. But I think we should talk about the Titan build I'm going to be taking into Final Shape. Now, by no means am I a Titan main. Honestly, I neglect my Titan and my Hunter in favour of my Warlock, but I do still have some builds on them that I do use, and I do still plan to run the campaign on each of my characters. So let's just get into the build that I'm bringing for my Titan up until I get Prismatic at the very least. So as the thumbnail suggests, this is a Solar Titan build taking advantage of the Consecration aspect, which states, while sliding, activate your charged melee ability to launch a wave of solar energy forward, damaging and scorching targets in front of you as you leap into the air. While airborne, activate your charged melee again to slam to the ground and create a second larger wave of damaging solar energy. If the wave hits a scorched target, they ignite. Now Scorch, there's the stacks you get that when they reach a certain level, they cause an ignition, and ignitions are the explosions. And the ignitions from Consecration are getting a nice buff in PvE in Final Shape. Now the exotic you compare this with is your choice. I use Pyrogale because I got it recently and it's fun to use with Burning Maul. Or you could use Syntheseps, for example, to buff the damage of Consecration a little bit. As for the next aspect, we're using Sol Invictus, which states Solar Ability Final Blows, Hammer of Sol impacts, and defeating scorched targets create sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster, and your super drains more slowly while standing in a sunspot. Sunspots apply Scorch and deal damage to targets inside. Entering a sunspot applies Restoration. We don't care too much about the super draining more slowly, because if you're using Pyrogale, it is a one-tap super. Like, you cast it, you slam it on the ground, it's ended. And if you're running Syntheseps, you probably shouldn't be using Burning Maul, you should be using Hammer of Soul, so I guess it would be good there for ad clearing with the super, or using it in a pinch. But mainly, we're using it for the abilities regenerating faster and the restoration. Now let's talk about fragments. For the first one, we're going to be using Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. This entire build is based around powered melee attacks, and Consecration counts as one to give you radiant. And Ember of Torches goes hand in hand with Ember of Benevolence, applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration for a short duration. We could add to this as well by running Healing Grenade, so if we ever want to have a quick burst of ability regeneration, we can just throw the grenade at a teammate and get a bunch of ability energy back. Or if you want to get your grenade back, you can melee someone and quickly give everyone around you radiant. Ember of Benevolence just gives a huge buff to regeneration. And as for the third fragment, I'm running Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. As we said earlier with Consecration, the first hit where you jump into the air scorches targets. So if you slam down again and get a kill, it will proc this. You'll get some melee energy back, so you can Consecration again, and it creates a fire sprite, which if you pick up gives you a bit of grenade energy back, so you can try and proc Benevolence with. And circling back to Radiant, which you can proc from your Consecration, and your Restoration, which you can proc from your Healing Grenade or your Sunspots, we're going to be running Ember of Empyrean to keep that up as much as possible. Solar Weapon or Ability Final Blows extend the duration of Restoration and Radiant effects applied to you. So if you proc Restoration or Radiant and immediately get another kill with another Consecration, or use weapons such as Zauli's Bane or Sunshot, you can try and keep these up as much as possible, and refresh them if they ever run out. And as always, your class ability and your movement option are purely your choice. It won't add anything or take anything away from the build, so just use what you like. And as for the melee, it doesn't really matter, considering we're going to be turning it into a Consecration at any possible time. But I went for Throwing Hammer just in case there isn't a position where I can slide to activate it and I just need to fling out a quick melee. Because this way, I can just pick it back up and then Consecration afterwards. So now that we're done talking subclass, let's talk armor mods. For my helmet, I'm running double hands-on and one harmonic siphon. The hands-on will give me super energy every time I get a kill with consecration or the hammer if I really need to. And the harmonic siphon is just for when I'm using Sunshot or Zauli's Bane. And on my gauntlets, I'm running one melee kickstart to get consecration back quicker every time I cast it if I have an armor charge, focusing strike to give me class ability energy when I cause damage with a powered melee attack, aka consecration, and heavy handed. My powered melee final blows create orbs of power, aka consecration again. And on my chest piece, I'm running 2 resists of whatever element I need in an activity, and 1 concussive dampener, since it's a melee build and I'm going to have to get really close to the enemies. As for my boots, I'm running 1 recuperation to replenish my health every time I pick up an orb of power, just as a precaution, 1 invigoration to reduce melee cooldown each time I pick up an orb of power, so I can consecration more, and 1 absolution, so it reduces all ability cooldowns when I pick up an orb of power, so I can use my barricade more, I can use my grenade more, and I can use consecration more. And finally, on my mark, I'm using double outreach, so every time I use my class ability, I get some melee energy back, and 1 reaper, so shortly after using my class ability, my next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power, which then feeds into our boot mods and the melee kickstarter. So we're going to be wanting to use our barricade as much as possible to get our abilities back faster. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video and the build, and I hope you might try out the build before Final Shape, or even during Final Shape before you get Prismatic, like I'll be doing on Titan. And I'll just see you in the next video when Final Shape releases. I'm going to make a video, well, I'm going to try to make a video on myself doing the campaign for the first time with 2 of my friends. And I'm going to be making a couple of build videos for Prismatic when it comes out, for Hunter, Titan, and especially my main, Warlock. So, I'll see you in a week.